Sup? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me I have some more RPG horror stories. Man, I know I'm like only second day back in VR, but it feels so nice. This is the prime time to start recording videos. Wanna be just hanging out, reading some RPG horror stories, just chilling. I got my arms and legs and everything. You know, it's kind of nice. This feels right. This feels right. Anyway, let's get some RPG horror stories for today. An incompetent DM changes the rules and writes the worst plot twist to ever be written. A few years ago, I witnessed a game that wasn't straight up disastrous but left me incredibly baffled. It all started when my girlfriend invited me to spectate on a Cyberpunk Red session that she was about to play. There were 4 players plus DM. First thing I learned, the DM in the middle of the campaign decided to change the dice rules to homebrew ones for some reason. He never stated as such, but I think he kinda based them on World of Darkness, when you have to throw multiple dice based on your skill level to determine the amount of successes and fails. However, instead of D10s, they threw D6s. 1 fail, 6 success, and everything else did nothing. Even without experience, I could tell this was completely moronic and not tested at all. Obviously, if it works, don't fix it. And if it doesn't work really well but still somewhat works, still don't fix it. Especially if you're just starting up and everything, or a campaign is midway, don't do it unless your players are cool with it, unless you have some justified reason for it. It's gonna throw a huge wrench in the whole system because it wasn't tested, wasn't really thought well. You're just like, oh, this other system does it, so I'll use it for this one, and that could break a lot of things. It became apparent pretty quickly when the player wanted to have a race in the Badlands. 2 of them had regular cars, 1 had a decked out pneumatic car, 1 had a bike. Mind you, none of these things were counted in. No modifiers for the type of vehicle, nothing. All that mattered was the roles in driving. Whoever had the most successes won. That's that. As if to point out the stupidity of the rules, the nomad car guy lost, and he was not happy about it. He ranted a bit about, what's the point of spending so much cash on upgrading my car if it doesn't do anything? And hey, he was right. DM had no idea what to say. So he just skimmed over the situation and kinda skipped to the night, when the true horror begins. The crew set up camp in the Badlands and went to bed. Then in the middle of the night, they're woken up by a loud crash no more than a mile away. Startled, everybody left their tents, and all they could see was a large metallic object smoking, crashing to the ground. They obviously went to investigate. As they arrived at the scene, the metal thing appeared to be some kind of spaceship. No reason to be taken aback by this, but hey, space travel is much more accessible in Cyberpunk. Maybe one of those moon cruisers crashing to the ground. And surely it's not something the DM put there because he recently saw the new Alien movie. Very non-subtle foreshadowing there. The crew entered the ship, split into 2 pairs, 1 per floor, and began to explore it. And it was so boring. DM had a pre-made map of the ship with like a dozen rooms of 2 floors, and only a few of them had loot and nothing else. The players also had no idea what they were looking for, so they just aimlessly walked around collecting random weapons or scrap parts for like an hour and a half. As they finally started to complain, suddenly 1 pair gets attacked by aliens. There were 2 of them, and they basically looked like headcrabs from Half-Life, but also kind of worked into the monster from the thing. A fight ensued, and the player were losing, not only because of the terrible dice rolls, but also because the aliens could regenerate from bullets and katana cuts like it's nothing. Meanwhile, the other pair was still investigating the rooms until they also found the room that triggered the alien attack on the floor. Fantastic. After like 30 minutes of useless fighting, someone metagamed a bit, just used fire, which to nobody's surprise worked like a charm. Who would have thought? Wish the DM gave some hints about this, but hey, whatever. By then I was incredibly relieved I'm only spectating this and not playing, because I was constantly zoning out with how dragged out it was. The players didn't hide their unamusement either. Not straight up complaining, but just kinda doing whatever to get those horrendous fights over with. I think around the time I went AFK to make myself some food, and by the time I came back, the crew was leaving the spaceship because they were really beaten up and had a lot of cool loot in them. And then, the disaster struck. The final boss of this horror story came. The DM began to narrate the whole crew waking up in no tents because it was all a freaking dream. A group dream, apparently. So basically all this was just like, retcon guys, it was a dream, haha. You know what one thing that sucks about stories in general, any stories at all, when you wake up and everything was a dream? It's fine if it's like a simple sequence, like a specific, like a dreamland, or you go to a specific dream world, or maybe it's like a really bad nightmare that you wake up from, and then the story continues. There's nothing worse than basically be like, and then it was all a big dream and nothing ever happened. What? They had all this loot, now they don't have this loot? I mean, okay, it's one thing if, let's say, for example, the DM was just inspired and excited about the new Aliens movie, just want to have a one-off session, like a one-shot and stuff, but then just tell people it's a one-shot session and go from there and just kind of roll from that. Just let him know specifically, hey, I watched Aliens and it was really cool. Like when Helldivers came out, I was so hyped for Helldivers. You know what I did? I ran a D&D session. I was like, yeah, this is basically a Helldivers session. You gotta be fighting some ant-kegs because I found ant-kegs that look like bugs. And cool, we're gonna have an ant-keg fight. You guys are gonna fight some ant-kegs and kind of go from there. And it was awesome. And players really liked it and enjoyed it. It was just a blast. We had this one-off session. There was some rewards that we were able to get. And the party got paid by the Adventurers Guild and off you go. And there we go. It was very simple and wasn't a stupid, you wake up from a dream and everything was a dream. Because there's nothing that deflates the excitement or boredom or just anything at all. There's nothing that completely deflates any sense of sensibility or just like presence of things than everything was a dream. Even if it is stupid, I'd rather have a dumb alien ride than have nothing at all, because right now players are just like, well, what's the point of doing this if we don't even get to keep the cool loot and stuff, or tell a story to everybody else about it. We just all had a conveniently placed, unique, simultaneous dream together. What the hell? Everyone was dumbfounded as the DM wrapped up the session. Finally, someone probed about all the loot they collected, since it was incredibly unfair that they spent so much time for nothing. The DM somehow didn't expect this to come up, and after some thinking, he just reluctantly let the players keep the loot, which was obviously a whole plot hole on its own for a reason I don't need to explain. It all basically sounded like he had no idea what he was doing from the start to finish and just wanted a sci-fi adventure. Midway realized nobody was enjoying it, and then it all made no sense in cyberpunk setting, and just retcon in the stupidest way possible. Anyway, I hope it was at least an entertaining read because it was miserable to witness. And right as we finish the story, y'all wake up. It's been a dream. This RPG horror story video is a dream. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. I'm kidding. This is reality. Here, let me pinch your cheek. Get your face close to the monitor or phone or whatever. See, I'm pinching your cheek. It's real. It's actually happening. Anyway, this is a great way of how to not run your sessions. Do not start with a brand new system and just start futzing with a new system for no reason unless it's being tested or everybody agrees to it. Don't start flipping the script for no reason whatsoever. And if you are going to be having a one-off session, do please, no matter how sucky it is or how lame it is, don't turn it into it was all big dream kind of thing. If you want to talk to the players afterwards, be like, hey guys, you just want to retcon this thing, but just keep the loot and stuff and just pretend like we never even did the whole alien thing because it just feels awkward. That's one thing, but be out in the open. Don't just turn it to it was all a big dream, unless everybody's cool with that sort of thing. Let's continue with the next story for today. 3-year-long friendship was a lie. I'm posting this story in the hopes others will read and learn from my experience. I dealt with bad players before, but I never dealt with a bad friend and player before. I was recruiting for a weekly campaign 3 years ago, and picked up Belle. Belle was a brand new player and was really nervous. I showed her the ropes. She was hooked to say the least. She was engaging, creative, really sociable, and she didn't take crap. She was prepared to call out unfairness to people's faces, and really admired her for that. The campaign fell apart, but her and 2 others really wanted to see the story through to the end, so agreed to start it again, and she brought in 3 new players from another game she joined. It was a hit again. I got to know Belle really well. She got to know me and my personal life. She told me about her struggles, her mother, her past and current work, told about my stresses, parenting, and all the friend stuff, you know? Months passed and 2 players she brought in have to drop out. One for university, the other for newborn child reasons. There was another reason I wouldn't find out much later. I bring in more players to keep it going, as one of the original players drops due to mental health reasons with a dying grandmother, and we get a solid group that lasted for 18 months. Belle was a monk, and she was in-game sister of the ranger, played by Kay. She was so engrossed in the campaign that she started an in-game romance with 3rd player Elo, who played a druid. About a key to the campaign as you can get. She loved my DMing and stories so much she joined another weekly campaign of mine for 2 years as well. It was an absolute joy to have a glued-on, engaging, and mindful player in my games. I often told her she was my golden player, from complete newbie to one of the finest players I had. She even started to DM, and I gave her lessons and pointers to up her DMing game. It's my full-time job, which her players really responded to. However, it was all a lie in the end. There was always a problem going on, either in-game or out of game, ranging from minor to major. Me being both a friend and fair DM would help her however I could. When she lost her job, I supported her financially. Not like hundreds, I basically covered a weekly $20 hobby fee for her for about 6 months. When she had an issue with players' behavior, spoke to the player and corrected it. If they didn't, I removed them. Oh my buddy, you are let's go ahead just analyze this last paragraph, because I feel like there's some really bad red flags going on here right this instant, right this minute, shall we? First of all, weekly $20 hobby fee, assuming you do it for 6 months, $20, you know, for 1 month, that's $80. For 6, Jesus Christ, that is almost $500. That is almost $500. Also, who is paying $20 for weekly hobby fee? What is this hobby fee you guys are playing? Are you playing in a place where you gotta pay to actually play somewhere? Why aren't you playing in someone's home where it could be done for free and stuff with some gas money here and there and stuff like that? I mean, it gotta be a really nice place where you guys are playing at or something. I'm not fully sure. Good lord, that's almost $500 reduce right there. Maybe my math is wrong. I don't know. I'm not a math tiefling. I'm an idiot tiefling. The part about speaking to the player if they had an issue with her specifically and you corrected it and removed the player. Okay, on one hand, that sounds good because you're like, hey, I care for my friend. If my friend is having an issue with another player, I speak to the player until the issue is fixed. If it can't be fixed, I remove the player. But also, it could also be misconstrued in a really bad way, and maybe I'm an a-hole for thinking about that, but maybe they're just using you to remove a player they don't like, which, you know, weirdly enough, has happened multiple times, especially in the previous campaign that I told about my RPG horror story about. There was a lot of women out there that probably didn't like each other a lot, and they basically got each other kicked out and removed by a lower DM or other DMs that were willing to remove them and stuff. It was crazy. There was a lot of drama. There was a lot of so much infighting and so much drama. It was crazy, honestly. A girl player that is really close to a DM doesn't like somebody, and they go to the DM to complain about this person, and the DM eventually has to capitulate and remove the player. But maybe that's not the issue. Maybe the issue wasn't the player itself. On one hand, maybe I'm just assuming the worst, and maybe they did have a problem player that you specifically had to deal with and had it be removed and stuff. Alternatively, it could be that your friend is manipulating you like crazy in order to get somebody else removed, which I kind of feel like it's leaning into this situation because it did say like the whole friendship was a lie, so maybe you did get betrayed by this non-friend. Due to the legitimate reasons Belle had problems with some players, I ended up removing 3 long-term players. But when one problem was done, another would always come about. After a while, I began to notice the pattern and began asking for a bit of leeway so I could find a compromise that didn't involve removing people, as that always seemed to be the end result. This led to her making ultimatums instantly, which I thought was unfair and felt pressure to keep her happy. Your friend was manipulating you. They were using you to basically remove other people whenever she was just unhappy with somebody else specifically. Belle is not a great person at all, dude. They were using you the whole time. After a month ago, I removed the 3rd player Belle when it gone. But before the player went, she wanted to say goodbye in-game. I told Belle that the player was going to say goodbye to the other players before she had built actual bonds with them, and it was fair to give the player not involved a chance to say goodbye. Belle exploded, demanded to know why I was letting this happen, stepped away from the session saying she had a panic attack. I gave her some space to recover. She then told me a few days later her mother was sick. I supported her. She then said the game with Kay and Elo that she was going to take a holiday for 2 weeks away from the game. This was a red flag for me. Based on our friendship, I believe that the stress of life was severely impacting her. About 10 years ago, I lost a D&D player to unaliving themselves. I always held myself slightly responsible. They said they were going away to clear their head for a little while and never suspected a thing. Going off my experience, I decided to send her a message to ensure this was not a repeat. I said that I was concerned for her. I believe she was heading towards a mental breakdown. She exploded on me. She said I didn't know what she was capable of, that if I was upset she was setting boundaries, then I clearly had bigger issues. She ended the message by telling me to frick all the way off. She then blocked me and left all my servers and games, even the one-shot game that hadn't been active in years. Wow, that's definitely seems like a really explosive reaction. I wonder if there's a reason for it. Let's continue. I was shocked. I didn't know what had gone wrong. Sent her a message on Facebook stating she was my friend and I didn't mean to upset her. She blocked me. I grieved. Spoke with other players that we were both friends with. I'd hoped she would unblock me after a few days so we could speak, but no. I was told that it was a poor choice of words, but they agreed there was no ill intent with me. I was left in confusion and sadness for about a week. After that, I turned towards the game she left in the future. The game with Kay and Elo in was hit the hardest, being such a key character. We had 4 players left in that one. Elo fairly said that without Belle, she didn't have the motivation to keep playing without her in-game relationship. She also had other things going on in life, so she stepped away, and I thanked her. Last 3 wanted to continue the campaign. They loved it, so I agreed to continue by getting new players in to fill out the party. Thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. Belle lost her crap at Kay and the others who stayed in the game. She said, after everything I'd done to her, why would they stay with me? When I asked what I had done to her, Belle couldn't give him a solid answer. She She started forcing ultimatums in other games with other DMs that she shared those players, saying she wanted them gone for not showing solidarity. She's mad that nobody else quit out of solidarity for what? For doing what? Checking in on somebody and she exploded and she's just mad for the sake of being mad? This is not a good friend, man. This is not a good friend. This is not even a friend. It's just somebody that wants to manipulate you. It try to get their way and throw tantrums at you. Right now, I'm just gonna be honest, because I've been in this place, you've been treated as a doormat and it's not good. It's not okay. When people figure out that you're a doormat, they'll continue treating you like a doormat until you stand up like a big old rug and walk off in your own direction, because otherwise people keep using it as a doormat. Unfortunately, listen, I've been in doormat position. If people figure out a way to keep using it as a doormat, keep manipulating you in some way just to get something that they want out of you, or just to be able to lash out at you for the sake of making themselves feel better, then you gotta get yourself out of the situation. You gotta stop being a rug and just scoot your way out of here, you know, move on to other pastures. Be a free rug, become a flying rug instead of a walking rug that somebody can just step over all the time. My metaphors making sense? I hope they are. One mutual acquaintance, Nor, actually took one of her empty spots so she could play with her friends in another campaign. Belle kicked Nor from her own game for this betrayal. Then Belle began manipulating their mutual DM to have Nor kicked from that game. It's worth mentioning that Belle is a 40-year-old woman, and this other DM is a 19 to 20-year-old woman. What? Are you telling me the 40-year-old woman is acting like this? Like a spoiled brat? What? Dude, that messed me up mentally. It's an adult, spoiled brat princess acting like that. 40 years old. You're 40 years old. You should know better. What's going on? What's happening to you? What? This is saying that whoever you were in high school is who you end up becoming, because unfortunately some people just never grow out of it. It takes quite a lot of self-control to like have a moment happen to you in high school and then continue on from there instead of just being the whatever person you were in high school or college or whatever. Some people just stick to whatever the kind of personality they have and they stick with it forever. Like it's a stubborn, I don't know, like a stubborn Zed that never goes away. They can just never budge from whatever personality they are. I am this and I'm willing to not budge regardless of if I do any kind of self-reflection. Self-reflection be damned. I'm not gonna get better. I want to be a dickhole to everybody. I don't know why dickhole, just the only thing I can think of. In the end, she shut down the game she's DM'd for because her players called her out for unfairly removing Nor. The younger DM shut her game down because Belle forced the ultimatum. The rest of us are left wondering why she did this to herself, why she turned her back and went full schoolyard bully on her friends. At first I grieved, then I was confused, then I turned to anger over her actions. How people who were not affiliated with me were affected based on something that could have stayed between me and Belle. I began to think about what exactly our friendship was. Kay even figured out that one of the two players who left the campaign early on left because she was treating him like crap outside the game and he didn't want to deal with it. Was she always this manipulative? I asked myself that a lot, and in the end, yes. Coming to terms with, she leveraged our friendship to use my position as a DM to have harsher punishments on players who displeased her. I could look back and see how her friendship came with conditions, but they seemed fair at a time. It took me some time to decide to post this. Other people in similar position as me can recognize similar patterns and what I expected and get themselves out of it before it really screws your heart and trust up. I had to make sure I had not ill intent on Belle before I posed this. No anger. Now I do not care about her, but I do care about her future problems. Care about making sure others don't fall into the same situation I did. Yeah, no, I can relate with people being manipulative in such a way, especially in a D&D setting. I don't know why, what it is, man. It's such a comfortable, actually, you know, I know why. It's because D&D, like VR chat for a lot of people, it's a comfortable setting. And whenever we have a very comfortable setting, people let the guard down. And when people let the guard down, you know who abuses that? Manipulative people abuse that. They snake and weave their way in through the social circles, get really buddy-buddy with somebody really high up in the ranks or whatever, or admin, whatever. And then they basically can get away with whatever they want. It's generally unfair. It's unfair that you had to deal with this. It's unfair that Belle made everybody else be a problem for everybody. It's just, it sucks, man. I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry, OP. It sucks. Situation is terrible. But you know what? I think it's good that you shared this. It's good that you shared this, not only for yourself to kind of release that steam and vent it out a little bit, but also just to let other people know the kind of people that you should probably look out for. People that want to have ultimatums and special clauses and conditions when it comes to being someone's friend. If somebody wants to be a friend, they'll be a friend no matter what, because they like hanging out with you, like spend time with you, and they just, you know, want to roll with you basically with whatever you're doing. That's all they want to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having actual true friends that want to be with you or through just be able to stuck with you through thick and thin. If you're the kind of person that's susceptible to this sort of thing, somebody out there will try to manipulate you and use you. Gotta look out for that. Gotta find the people that aren't worth it, remove from your social circles, or really not associate with them as much, and instead focus on the people that do matter to you. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.